Hi, welcome back to Mariah's Block. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bar so you do not miss any content from me. Today, I will be cooking for you. I made this dish, I want to say about 3 years ago, and I'm going to make it again today. It's pretty simple. You can literally make it anytime you want. It's kind of a fancy dish, at least I think so. But it's really good if you are into a lot of spicy foods. You'll love this dish. If you have a loved one or you're in a relationship and you're trying to figure out the perfect date night type of food and you want to do it really, really quickly, then this is the food for you and your loved one. So today I will be making a bow tie spicy pasta. A spicy pasta. Um, so let's talk about the ingredients that you'll need. So today you will need. I use a pack of hot links. You don't have to use all of them. You can use about 3 or 4 of them, depending on how much you want. If it's just you, in which it's just me, I'll probably just maybe use about 3 of them. The next thing you'll need is you will need some seasonings, so that way you can have some seasoned meat. You never want to have, even though the hot links has its own flavor, you're gonna want to have some extra flavor to kind of just be extra fancy for it. So I have my collection of seasonings, and I will be going over what type of seasonings I use. Um, you'll also need some bow tie noodles, and today we're using these. Never had them before, but I hope they're good. But yeah, you'll need some bow tie noodles. You're also going to need some canned mushrooms, or you can use fresh mushrooms, but you're going to need mushrooms. But if you're allergic to mushrooms, you do not have to use it. You can still have the same pasta, but you don't have to use this. You can still have the same type of dish. You're also going to need 1 yellow onion, or however many you're cooking for. You can use about 1 or 2 or 3. You're going to want to slice these up, and you're going to want to cook it with your meat because you're bringing in all those flavors. Once the food is cooked, you're going to want to, or you don't have to, but if you want to be extra fancy, you're going to want to use some parsley, or you can use oregano, just something that kind of keep it kind of looking cute on your plate. Another thing you'll need, because it's like I said, this is a pasta. You're gonna need all-purpose flour. You're gonna also need, it can be any brand, but you're gonna want a canned tomato sauce. Today we're using Hunt's tomato sauce. And right now I have my water boiling for the pasta. I have put some salt, which you can use that for flavor. And I've also put a tiny bit of oil. And the reason why you put a little bit of oil is you do not want your pasta to stick to the pan. It still may happen, but you do not need to drown any oil into the pan or into the pot. You just need a little bit. So that way everything kind of comes up as it's supposed to. You don't have to use this type of skillet, but today we're going to use this one to make the sausage. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your sausage out of the package, and you're going to want to slice it up into not teeny tiny circles, but like even to just, eat it with. Um, the reason why I have a bowl is because once the meat is done cooking and the onions are done, like they don't have to be super ooey gooey sauteed. It can be so somewhat not that sauteed, but you're gonna want to take the meat and the onions out and put them to the side. And this is when I don't know if it's a family recipe. I just know my mom taught me how to make it. But then you're gonna want to, whatever remaining grease is in here, you're gonna want to make gravy. But you're not really just making gravy, you're making something called tomato gravy. And this gravy, you can put it over your pasta. I've used it for, I've used it to make chicken. I fried chicken and I kind of use it as like a smother, like a smothered chicken, except I used tomato gravy instead of brown gravy or white gravy. So I will teach you how to make it. It's really simple. Um, I love it. So I haven't made it in a while, but I love it. And like I said, one of the ingredients that I use is a can of tomato sauce. Um, the other thing you can use to make tomato gravy, if you have tomato sauce and you have diced tomatoes, it kind of helps it too. It just depends on what you have, as long as it has a red flavor, or not a red flavor, but a red color to it, you still have gravy. But it's really, really good. So right now I am going to cut my sausage, and you put a little bit of oil into your pan to cook your sausage. You don't need a whole bunch because once the meat is in there into the pan, then you really shouldn't have any need for any extra oil. So I'm going to take a little bit of, I use canola oil. You can use whatever oil that you use at home. If you use olive oil or any other type of oil, you can use that. And like I said, you don't need a lot because you don't want to drown your meat. You don't really want to have to take your meat out of your pan, and you don't want to have oil dripping from your meat if you don't have to. Um, but if it happens, it happens. So um, yeah, just put a little bit of oil in there and just kind of let that oil heat up. You don't want to put the meat in there right away. You want it to not really sizzle or spark at you, but you want it to be hot. Because if you want to cook this at a certain time, you want it to be hot. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of oil into my pan. And honestly, you just want like enough oil that will kind of get around the pan. Even if you have to pick it up and kind of swirl it around. Because like I said, you don't need a lot of oil. Okay. So now that you've done that, you put aside your oil for now. Not saying you'll need it later, but just in case. So now what you want to do is you want to open your pack of meat. And like I said, I think you might just need about 3 of them. 3 of the hot links to cook with. You're going to take them out and you're going to cut them up. And I will show you what size the meat is supposed to look like. So that way when you want to cook this, you don't have to have like teeny tiny pieces. You can have like literally like bite-sized pieces of meat. So after I cut this up, I will be back to show you what it looks like. And I will also cut up the onion, so I can show you what that looks like. So now that I have cut up my onion and I have cut up my sausage, now I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what your meat should look like. This is what the onion should look like. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my meat first and just put it in there and start cooking it. Okay, so rule number 1 when cooking is you want to wash your hands. Not because the COVID's around or anything, but just to be very sanitary, is you wouldn't want to go to a restaurant and have your best or have your favorite dish served to you and then find out later that the cook that made your food did not wash his hands. You would feel kind of violated a little bit. So, like I said, if you were to cook this dish for your family or even for your loved one, you still would want to wash your hands before you cook it. If you have like long hair, you need to put your hair up so that way no hair gets into your food. And just kind of pay attention to what you're doing when you're cooking. Try to. As you can see, after putting a little bit of oil into this pan, as you can see, the pan is ready for me to put the meat in there. Also, after putting a little bit of oil in there, you can see it kind of expanded itself. And also, my pot is ready for the pasta. It is now started to boil. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and put the meat in first and let that kind of cook with itself. And then after that, we'll put the onion in there. Now, because the COVID, I have watched videos where some people are now cooking with gloves on. That's totally your choice. Depends on what you want to do. But for me, I've washed my hands. Yes, I'm touching the bowl, the pot, everything. But just for future reference, if you're super duper germophobic, you can always cook or demonstrate with gloves on. It's totally on you. But today, I'm going to cook this dish without any gloves on. Honestly, too, off camera, after I cut up my onion, I cut up the meat, I did wash my hands. Also, too, when you're cooking, it might be a big urge. You might have an itch or a scratch somewhere. Like right now, I'm itching on my face, and I'm trying not to scratch my face. But if you really, really absolutely have to, do it and then wash your hands and then come back to doing what you're doing, because you don't want any germs or anything to get on your food while you're cooking and even after the food is done. You want everything to stay clean. Now we're going to take our meat and put it in the pan. And even though this sausage is already cooked because of the manufacturer people that have like put it together, I just want to cook it until it's like brown. And right now I have it like on a medium heat, and that's totally okay. And you can use this or you can continue to use your spoon, but you're going to want to cook the meat fast because you really don't want it to burn. So now that it's starting to cook all together, now you can go ahead and add your onion in there too. So once your meat is brown, you can take it out. It doesn't have to be cooked as long, but if you want your onions to be a little bit more brown than this, then you can keep your onions in there a little bit longer. But right now I'm going to remove the meat. As you can see, that didn't take long, but it depends on what type of pan you have. If you have a pan like this, it will not take you long to cook your meat. But if you have a different type of pan where it might stick to the pan, it's going to take you a minute. So what I'm going to do now is just take this meat out of here. You have to be very careful because you don't want to accidentally burn yourself if you don't have to. And no, I did not get this meal from any Pinterest or Instagram. I just literally just thought of it one day and was just curious what it would taste like. I had some hot links in my refrigerator and just decided to make it. And once I cooked it, I thought it kind of looked kind of fancy because I put the parsley on top. And when I ate it, of course, it was really good to me. And like I said, you can make this. Honestly, if you like Polish sausage or kielbasa, it's still really good, but it's not. You're not gonna have that spice anymore. Now, normally I don't cut my onions like this, but I only did it for this particular meal. But normally, if I do cut onions or any vegetables or anything, I'm normally chopping it for dear life. So now that your onions are somewhat cooked, you're going to want to take them out and put them back in the bowl with your meat. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you on pause again. I'm going to put my noodles into the pot, and then I will get prepared to make the gravy. So give me a second. So now that I've put my pasta into the pot and my meat and onions are done, now what you're going to want to do is get prepared to make the tomato gravy. So I'm going to take some flour. I don't really measure it because I never know how much I'm going to need. It just depends on how much I'm cooking for. So what you're going to want to do is kind of pour it into the pan. You want to make sure you have like some oil into your pan. And so like if you just finished cooking meat, it's okay if there's like residue of oil still in your pan because you're going to need it. Also, what I'm going to do is get my onions, bring them back to the skillet, and cook them with this flour, or cook the gravy with this flour. Okay, so what you're going to do now is cook fast. And you want the gravy to kind of brown a little bit. And it's okay if it's brown. So what you're going to do, you're going to take some hot water. Never use cold. Always use hot water. You're going to pour a little bit on at a time. And keep pouring. So also what you're going to want to start doing as it's starting to sizzle is you're going to want to take a little bit of salt and kind of just put some salt in there. And this is perfectly fine since you're making gravy. It's totally optional, but you're going to want to put some pepper, some black pepper. You can get creative in your kitchen. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing, but you can put a little bit of garlic salt. And if you notice when you're making the gravy that the water is starting to look like it's like not enough, you can just take some more water and put it on there. But make sure it's hot water. If it gets warm, just get you some more hot water. And don't be afraid to use seasoning. Don't be afraid. The only time you should be somewhat afraid is when you're using salt. Because if you put too much, you're going to have a numb tongue all night long. I'm going to use a little bit of onion powder, even though I have onions in there. I'm going to use a little bit of onion powder. And some garlic powder. Now you don't have to put a whole bunch in there to where, you know, you about to kiss your loved one goodnight and they smell like garlic. Like, you don't have to put a whole bunch in there. And you can also use LAWRY'S seasoning salt if you want. I personally like it, but it all depends on you and your preference. If you feel like the garlic salt and the regular salt is cool with you, don't use this. But I'm going to sprinkle a little of this in here, and I will be back. So now that I put the LAWRY'S seasoning salt in there, I had to put a little bit more water for the gravy. But if you're trying to make this a fancy dinner, you're going to want to put some more hot water in there. Like I said, the gravy amount depends on how many people you're serving. If you're just serving this for yourself, or it's you and your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or your wife or your husband, you're going to want a lot of gravy. And honestly, you're going to want enough that will cover the meat and the pasta. So I'm going to let that cook, and I'm going to check on. And honestly, when you cook the meat, you're not going to want to have it on a high heat, because like I said, depending on the pan that you're using, it's going to cook fast. And so you're going to want to have it on the medium heat. And when I cooked mine, it was like maybe on 5. And now that I'm cooking the gravy, same thing, medium heat. Now, when you're first cooking it, you can maybe have it maybe on about the lowest heat, or you can have it maybe about on 2 or 3. And as it starts to cook, you can kind of make the heat go a little bit higher. It just depends on you. So the way I check my noodles is I kind of just give them a little, you know, stir. But if I kind of just take a little bite of it. And they're definitely not done. So now, as this gravy is slowly coming together, and you never want your gravy to come out too thick or too watery. But if it is too watery, you want to maybe put a little bit more flour in there. But even if you do that, you're going to want to keep stirring it. So, like I said, mushrooms are optional. So if you don't like mushrooms or you're allergic to mushrooms, you don't need to use this. It's just something I use for my tomato gravy, but before I started putting mushrooms in it, I didn't put the mushrooms at all in it. So it depends on your preference. And be careful when you open cans like this. So I'm going to drain a little bit of this water because we don't need a whole bunch of mushroom juice, because as you can see, there's already things going on in here. So I'll be back. I'm going to drain off some of this water. So now we're going to take these mushrooms and put them in here. And like I said, when you're using when you're cooking with the with mushrooms, you can use canned, you can use fresh mushrooms. All depends on what you like. So another thing too, when you're cooking, if you have to taste your food while you're cooking, which as you see, I didn't have an extra fork for my pasta, but normally to also be to keep everything sanitized is you want to have 2 extra of your utensils. So yeah, so sometimes if you're tasting pasta, you're tasting your main course, you're going to want to have extra utensils because, you know, you don't want to put something in your mouth and then use that same something to stir your gravy or stir your pasta. You're going to want to have 2 different kinds. I know that'd be hard to remember, but you don't want to kill nobody. Because say you're cooking this and you're sick. You don't want to get your family sick. You don't want to get yourself even sicker. And you don't want to get your loved one sick. So to be on the safe side, it's best to have 2 forks, 2 spoons. Unfortunately, you can't have 2 anything else to, like, you know, flip hamburger or sandwiches. You can't really have 2 of those, but you can definitely have 2 forks, 2 spoons, 2 knives. Now you don't want your gravy to look like it's all clumpy either. Um, but I have to be honest, it's my 5th or 6th time making gravy. You're going to have your good days and bad days making any dish that you make. But when you're making things like this, where you have to literally remember what to do, the do's and don'ts, you're still going to have your good days and bad days of doing it. But today, I guess people want me to make things that look good. Because normally, the last time I made this gravy, I think I made it for chicken, it didn't come out the way I wanted to. So today, it's letting me show you how I cook it on a good day. Which kind of makes me proud, because I didn't want to fail today. So now that it's getting a little bit thicker, but it's not like super thick, I'm not going to take the tomato sauce and pour it into the pan, but give me a minute because that's going to take a little bit longer. So I'll be back after I pour the sauce into the pan. So now that I put the tomato sauce in here, now we're just going to kind of stir it around. So now what I'm going to do is add the meat back into the pan. And I'm going to grab some chili powder. Yes, some chili powder and some paprika. And this is where it gets hot. Oh, and some pepper. So you're going to want to turn this down a little bit to where it's like a low heat now. Now I'm going to just put the meat back in here, like so. Okay. So this is the fun part. So now you're going to want to kind of bury your meat into the gravy. You're going to want to take some chili powder. Like I said, only make this food if you're into spicy foods. If you're not, ignore this recipe. You're going to want to take some paprika. Paprika isn't really hot. It's just like good for like decoration and for your food. But it all depends on you. And then we're going to add a little bit of pepper. And now you're just going to want to stir all of that up. It's looking really good now. So, like I said, if you're cooking this for your family and you want them to try it, you're going to need probably a whole pack of the meat. You're probably going to need a whole pack of the Bowtie noodles. You're probably going to need a bigger jar because they do sell jars of mushrooms. or not. You're probably going to need maybe 2 things of onions, um, maybe 2 cans of tomato sauce. Doesn't matter what brand, but you know, you're not making spaghetti, so you're going to need the sauce, not anything with basil or herbs, just regular tomato sauce. You can also use diced tomatoes, depends on you and the person you're serving for. If you're serving for yourself, that's on you. I also use different seasonings, so it depends on you again, because some people don't like salt and Lawry's seasoning salt, so it just depends on what you like. But I will have the ingredients down in my description box. Things I use to cook this food, cook this dish. And it's okay if you substitute on how you make certain foods. If you do decide to make this, I don't know how it works. I'm still learning how Instagram works. But if you do want to learn how to make this, you can if you want to make this, you can also just put my name in it. So far I haven't seen, like I said, I came up with this idea in my head, because so far I haven't seen anyone make this on YouTube. I'm not saying I'm the first one, but you just never know. So if you're interested on making it, it'll be my pleasure. Just put my name in it that you made it and you got the idea from me. I don't know what other dishes I'll be making, but I just wanted it to look kind of a cool dish. Other thing too, you can make a vegetable with this. You don't have to. I'm not making a vegetable with this, but if you want to eat somewhat healthy, you can make a salad. You can make broccoli. You can make just about anything with this. Especially, like I said, if you're not into a bunch of spicy food, but you want to impress your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, and you're trying to be brave at the dinner table, you can have a salad on the side and still eat this and still have a big old smile on your face because you got through it. So, and you definitely don't have to be heavy-handed with, sprinkling seasoning on your food, but don't be scared. Don't be scared to experiment. Don't be scared to um, come up with ideas. Like right now, this is trying to cook itself. And when you're mixing foods like this, you need to pay close attention to it, because if you don't want it to burn, you have to keep stirring. So that's what I'm gonna do. Right now, we're just waiting. So now that everything is done, so what you want to do now is you want to take your pasta, and the pasta is done. So now what you want to do with your pasta is you want to drain off the water, and you can either mix this with the meat, or you can just have it on the side. And that's what I'm going to do for this. I'm going to have it on the side. So I'm going to drain the water. I'll be right back. So now that your pasta is completely done, now you're going to want to take your spoon and put some pasta onto your plate. And you want your plate to kind of look like this. And then you're going to take your tomato gravy and your meat. And like I said, only make this food if you're into really spicy foods. And voila, you now have Bowtie noodles with hot link sausages. So now what you want to do is I'm going to take a bite of this. Make sure that it's good the way I made it about 3 years ago. So, and I'm also going to take a piece of meat. Very good. It's very, very good. So that's it for my channel for today. Like I said, I will put the ingredients on everything I used and how I put things together. If you're interested in making it, and you can also put my name in it that you did make it on Instagram, or even, well, mainly Instagram. And I'll put my Instagram in the description box, so that way you can find me and tag me into you making this pasta. Like I said, another thing too that I say it's optional if you want to be a little bit fancy is you can also sprinkle some parsley on it. Okay. And as you see, that kind of makes it a little bit more fancy. All preference to you. But it's really good. Like I said, it's been a while since I've made it, but I love it. So, thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, do not forget to hit that notification bar. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to comment down below and tell me what you're wanting. I am still new to this thing, and I will be making more videos. If you want to see some more cooking videos, let me know. So that way I have all the ingredients and things that need to be made, things that need to be bought in order to make that dish. But like I said, thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Do not forget to hit that notification bar. If you're a returning subscriber that tuned in and watched this, thank you for watching it. And like I said, I'll be making more videos soon. Thank you, and have a good night.